Hi everyone, this is Nicole from Air Corporate. If you do business with Asia, you know that Hong Kong and Singapore are great places to register your company. And if you go online, you'll find lots of articles regarding Hong Kong companies, and you'll also find lots of articles regarding Singapore companies. But you will not find much on actually and practically comparing Hong Kong and Singapore companies. That's why in this video, I'll explain what Hong Kong and Singapore companies have in common and their differences. And if you stay until the end of this video, I'll give you my personal feeling as to which of Hong Kong or Singapore is more convenient for foreign businesses and entrepreneurs. Last thing, for the sake of transparency, just know that we offer services such as incorporation, company secretary, accounting, tax, and so on in both Singapore and Hong Kong. So no matter if you decided to go for Hong Kong or Singapore, we can assist you. Okay, that was my introduction. Now let's get into it and start with the easiest. Number one, what do Hong Kong and Singapore have in common? Well, the two cities have a lot in common. Both of them offer low tax, no foreign control exchange, and very limited administrative red tape. Both of them are business friendly, have top banks, offer an English-speaking environment, and have a legal system based on common law. So no matter whether you decided to go for Hong Kong or Singapore, there is generally no right or wrong decision. Both are the best cities when it comes to doing business with Asia or in Asia. Number two, where is the easiest to incorporate your business? In both Hong Kong or Singapore, you can incorporate it in a few days only. Most importantly, you can do it online remotely, meaning that you do not need to travel to start your company. Number three, where is the best to open a corporate account? In both Singapore and Hong Kong, you have access to traditional banks such as HSBC or DBS and online banks such as Airwallex or Aspire. Over the last 5 years, I would say that opening an account was easier in Singapore. This is because Singapore was the first to have a mature fintech environment. But things have changed in the last 2 years. These days, I would say that Hong Kong is maybe a bit better and easier. Why? Well, for two reasons. One, several recent money laundering cases in Singapore have pushed the local financial institutions to impose higher standards, and two, Hong Kong has been catching up in terms of banking and fintech offerings. So all in all, in both Hong Kong and Singapore, you'll find the big banks and the online banks. And in both, you should expect being able to open an account remotely with online banks or on site at traditional banks. But I would say that Hong Kong has the advantage at the moment. Number four, where is the most attractive in terms of tax? Both Hong Kong and Singapore are considered as attractive and low-tax environments. But if you look at the details, Hong Kong is definitely more attractive. For example, if you compare profits tax, Singapore is 17%, Hong Kong starts at 8.25% until 16.5% for local profits. But this is important. Hong Kong also has a 0% tax on profits generated outside of Hong Kong. This is what we call the offshore tax system. And this makes Hong Kong very, very attractive. You also got no value-added tax in Hong Kong, while you have it in Singapore for certain services and above a certain level. So, basically, when it comes to tax, I can say that it's a no-brainer. Hong Kong is more attractive because there's simply less tax. Number five, which is the most flexible in terms of company management. Both cities offer a relatively simple company organization and management process. In brief, you're pretty free to structure and organize your company as you want. But there is a major difference between the two cities, which is that in Singapore, you need to have a local director. What does that mean? Well, if you do not live in Singapore, you need to have a person residing in Singapore to be the co-director of your company together with you. On paper, it is not a big concern, and all incorporation providers can arrange that, but it can be a bit more complicated in practice. Why? Well, for several reasons. One, it comes with a cost because the local director will not act for free, so you need to cover this cost, which you do not have to bear if you set up a Hong Kong company. Number two, the local director needs to be involved and required to sign all resolutions and documents each time you want to reorganize your company, which can be troublesome. Number three, there have been big profile money laundering cases in Singapore over the last few years, as authorities tend to become more strict on the management of companies. we noticed that local Singapore directors tend to become more and more cautious. For example, they would more and more often ask to conduct regular reviews of your company and business. Of course, from the perspective of the local director, it is perfectly normal to carefully check that the company for which they are acting is legit. But in practice, we sometimes hear about local directors becoming sometimes overly cautious or imposing compliance or KYC standards that do not make much sense. So, from our experience, dealing with a local director can therefore be a bit frustrating, especially because the local director has absolutely no involvement or added value to your business. So today, the need for a local director in Singapore is a big difference with Hong Kong. Number 6, where is it the most attractive in terms of visa and immigration? First of all, you should know that both of Hong Kong and Singapore are small territories with a large population. For this reason, they are both quite tough in terms of immigration policies. So just to be clear, the simple fact to create your company and do business there will not simply allow you to relocate to Hong Kong or Singapore. But if we have to compare, Hong Kong is probably easier these days in terms of immigration and trying to attract talent. Why? Because Hong Kong had a few tough years and now working hard to attract talent. And in Singapore, this is a little bit the opposite, as the city had very good years recently, with many large companies relocating there, which has led to an expensive cost of living and stricter visa rules. So, to conclude this video, let me give you my personal feeling and recommendation. If you decide to do business in Asia without living here, I would say that today Hong Kong is probably easier to set up and run your company, and more attractive from a tax point of view. Also, if you do business with China, then Hong Kong also makes sense. Some clients may say that they still prefer Singapore for geopolitical reasons. Well, if it is the case, then no worries. And no matter if you register in Hong Kong or Singapore, there is no big mistake. There is no bad decision anyway, as both cities have a lot to offer. That was my take on Singapore versus Hong Kong. As usual, please feel free to contact me and my team for any questions. And of course, if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe. That's it for today. Bye!